Hi, I'm Geraldine Bosner, and I'm here with the amazing creator and businesswoman and author Lisa Murray, all the way from Australia. And I have been working with Lisa. She's been my business mentor for about a year now, and it has really changed how I do business. But I think more importantly, it's actually kind of changed how I am in life. It's kind of it's changed how I view and how I be in life, and as an effect it kind of it's really it's very hard to explain, but it's made me look at life in a more kind of creative way, and it's kind of created a kind of a vibrancy and aliveness in my life, and then that then translates into how I create my business and the choices I make in my business. So yeah, welcome Lisa.
Hi,
I don't know
Debbie.
if there's anything you want to add. If there's anything you want to add to that as an introduction on
I thought it
yourself.
was a great intro, actually, because, whatever we're creating, whether it's our business or, something we'd like to have happen in the future, whatever it might be, literally, you can't separate all of those things. Like everything you're creating is actually connected together. And so I think you've done a great description to start with of, what that's all about and how that works. Like whenever I work with people in their business, it always spills over into everything else because you're becoming more of you. You're
So
becoming.
I'm really happy to host Lisa. She's coming all the way from Australia to Killarney, and she's doing two one-day workshops. And the one we're going to talk about today is creating your future. And it's interesting because the idea of that we're constantly creating our life is something that I find quite inspiring and empowering. Actually, when I got that concept, it was like the choices I made were very different. And the whole idea of then like, what can we create when we're consciously creating our lives? That really kind of gives me a sense of, sort of empowerment in my own life. So I'm just wondering then, bringing in that element of creating your future, maybe you could just speak a little bit to that and give us an idea of what that's going to kind of feel like and taste like.
Yeah, well, good question. It's funny. When someone first said this to me, they were like, go and create your life. I was like, what? I thought I was, you know? And it was really interesting because for quite a while, like maybe a year, I ran around asking everyone new, what does that mean? And
Yeah.
really, it's so funny because what I can see, like, having had a few years of playing with it now, is that it's this thing of like, well, what would we truly like to have our life be? Because so often we create it based on what we've got now. And when I stopped doing that and started really looking at, well, what if, there was no now? What if I could choose anything? What would I like to choose? And so one of the really interesting things for me has been to play with this in all sorts of different ways and to start to explore what could be possible if I didn't actually have to base it on anything. If I was just much more random about the creation of my life, and it sounds really odd in one way, yet in another way, it's the thing that keeps moving me forward really dynamically. And it's the thing that actually, allows me to come and travel. And I've been to a lot of countries now with Creativity Lab and, running sort of 1, 2, 3 day events all over the world. And every time I do it, something different shows up, which allows more creation of the future. And so what we're really going to play with in this one-day class is what doors could you open really that would allow you to begin creating a future you'd actually really love to have? Because I remember when I asked for what I've got now, and it was years and years and years ago, like maybe 7, 8 years ago, I had the idea that I wanted to create a business that would allow me to travel. And, within 3, 4 years of asking that, it was there and it's just growing and growing. And I say no to more travel than I say yes to now, it's kind of gone to that other extreme. So it's really, this day I think is an invitation to explore what it is you truly desire. Because often we don't allow ourselves to know. We kind of look at the surface level things. And for me, at the moment, one of the big things is looking at, well, how much do I actually want to work? Because I realized that I don't want to work, 6.5 days a week, which is what I often do. Even though I love what I do and it doesn't ever feel like work to me, there's actually all these other adventures I'd like to have. And so for me, it's this thing of delving really deeply into that in a really playful, adventurous, sort of experimental way, and seeing what can come of it.
Great. Well, it's really interesting because, I was kind of thinking, before we did the video was, what has really kind of stuck with me over the year of working with you. And the two things that really stood out are the idea of having life as an adventure of living. That's something that you talk about quite a lot. And I've noticed that it's really changed how I am in life. It's like I used to have this idea that, I had to, as a professional businesswoman, I had to be out there and I had to be like really perfect and sorted.
Yes.
And now I can see that it's not that at all, and it's interesting because, at the moment I'm going through a particularly challenging part of my life. And in the past, I know I would have said no to doing a video like this, because it's like, it would have been my belief that, oh no, to show up and do a video, you have to be all sorted and perfect. And now I can see that it's not about that at all. For me now, I can see that it's about turning up as me. And, it's like the main thing is about just kind of, embracing what is, and and sort of being there with the whole kind of messy, beautiful adventure of it all. And that's what's making life feel really exciting, and that's what makes me feel really kind of alive. And I can see now that what I used to do was kind of hide myself in my room when things weren't great, and that to me now seems like the opposite of living. It seems like the opposite of creating my future, in fact. So so you might just,
so go on.
I don't know if you want to just say a little bit about that, because I think it has been the most inspiring thing of our work together, is when you bring up that element of it.
Yeah, wow, it's so interesting that you've said that, because I also used to hide away. When things got messy, I would hide away because it was like, I don't know what to do now, And what I've realized is that if you move faster forward, and you literally just go, okay, I'm just going to go through this, however it shows up, whatever it is, I'm just going to keep moving forward, and like I've had almost 2 weeks in bed a couple of weeks ago, because my body just had a moment where it just was like, I'm done, I need rest. And it was really interesting because it was in the middle of a launch, and there were all these things going on, and I'm like, oh, body, really? Is this the time? And it was like, yes. And what I see though is that you can still create from any situation, because I still did manage to create quite an amazing lot of things during that time, even though I was mostly in bed and mostly like going, oh my gosh, I feel so sleepy. And, it's like when we show up, when we have that presence, when we be what we can be in the moment, it actually invites life to play with us. And I think this is one of the real joys of what we're going to play with in this day, is really looking at all those spaces where maybe we don't show up as we could. Even this morning, like I went for a walk in the national park here, and it's so beautiful. And I was just really aware of like all of the different people, and how many of them were really present and enjoying the walk, and how many of them were just in all the stories in their head and all the different things, And like for me, the trees in different parts of the walk all have different energies. And I was just so acutely aware that so few people would even notice that. And so part of this thing, I think, of creating a greater future, or creating, your future, is to actually become really acutely aware of what talks to you, what the whispers of the future are, and how you can actually show up and be present with those, whatever is going on for you. And, I've gotten better and better at that over the years. And it's definitely practice, right? Like you would know that too. And it really is just this beautiful thing where you just be a little bit more present and a little bit more present, and you have more presence with everything around you. And what happens then is things actually start to respond to you in a really different way. Like I can go, like the other day I went to the beach, and a little bird like hopped the entire way around me in a circle, like about half a meter from me. And it was like, and he did it like 3 times, and he was just like checking me out. And like, mostly animals won't do things like that if you're not really there in your life. And for me, just being there and having that presence with that animal actually gives an energy that starts to create my future. Because it's literally like, you know, when you start to notice all of those fine, small details of everything around you, then you actually see which energies and which elements you can create with, you know. And I just
Mm.
had a little chat with the birdie. I'm like, hi, what do you know? And so it's like, if we actually play with everything around us, whether it's a bird or, you know, a dog. Like this morning I saw a cocker spaniel on my walk, and I love cocker spaniels. I used to have one. And I was like, hi. So I had a little play with that dog too. And it's like everything will contribute to you if you're willing to have it. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this class because it feels like it's just going to be this adventure in becoming really present with what is in our lives and then seeing where we would like to go that would actually create something even more amazing.
Mm. Fantastic. I'm really excited about it too.
Cool.
And then the other element that really stands out for me, and I thought we might just talk about it a bit, is nurturing. And this has been a bit
Yeah.
of a revelation to me because I know I wouldn't have been the most patient person in the past, and I would tend to like force things and push them, and you bringing in that element, like, and anytime I ask you a question, it seems to always come back to nurturing and bringing in that element of nurturing. And you know, it's like the softness and the kindness and how that can just kind of extract something that you would never have gotten to if it was just done by force and push. So yeah, you might just talk a little bit of that because I think it's
Yeah.
something that's it's really
Yeah.
important as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's, I'm so glad you raised this actually, because, a lot of people create their future through, I've got a goal or a bucket list and I'm going to make myself do it, and that's, and I didn't do that into energy very intensely. Most people are a lot more intense about it than that. And then they get really frustrated when it doesn't show up how they thought it was going to, or it's not going fast
Mm.
enough. Or, and it's really interesting because I hear so many people say, but it's not showing up. And I'm like, well, it hasn't shown up yet. And that is a really different energy, and
Yeah.
and I've had to learn this as well because I would not be the most patient person on the planet, like
Yeah.
my idea of creating everything is fast and now, and preferably yesterday, and yet when you bring these energies of nurturing in to what you're creating, it allows it to show up in an entirely different way, and it
Mm.
allows the magic to show up. And this is something I'm also really excited to play with people because, really simple things. Like another day I was having the national park walk. I went through a phase of wanting to have a daily retreat. So just a little bit of time for me where I would just go and do something that was fun for me. And this particular day, I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone. And it was very clear in my head that I didn't want to talk to anyone, And so I was walking, and next thing I hear someone call my name. And I had this real moment of quandary because I'm like, oh, but I wasn't going to talk to anyone. And the interesting thing was, it was a girl that I didn't know very well who actually has been an Olympic like kayaker. And I had been asking what it would take to go out on the river. Like, who could show me, who could teach me how to go out on the river, like kayaking and things like that, and paddleboarding, and who could like do it in a way that I would enjoy. Because yes, you can go and get a lesson, but not everyone would do it with the energy you would enjoy. And there she is. And like literally, she's this amazing person who also knows the energetic side of things. And I've been going out on the river and it's been awesome. And so our future doesn't have to be always these really big, ridiculous things, although it can be, but it can be just these things. Now if I'd chosen not to talk to her that day, I wouldn't have had that adventure, or it might have taken much longer to show up. So this is the nurturing thing. It's almost like you want to nurture everything and receive everything, and I've been laughing at myself ever since about the I don't want to talk to anyone today, because actually that was a cutting off of receiving. And if I was willing to actually receive everything, which I had to make a choice that, oh, I'm just going to open up my world a little bit here and, do something I thought I wasn't going to do today. And it created more, So this is
Mm.
where it never shows up how we think it will. Dr. Dane here has said that many times. And it's one of those things that I look at and I just go, well, it doesn't show up how you think it will. Usually it shows up
Mm.
better. if you're willing to allow it to come to fruition in its own way, in its own timing. You know, I didn't run around madly looking for all the different ways I could go on the river. I was just like, well, I wonder what it would take. And next thing, here I am having a really good time with it. So
Brilliant.
what I would say is that, well, it's going to be an adventure in creating that day, actually, but from these different energies, which most people don't use because they think it's all about doing. And so much of the time, it's not about doing, it's about being and about asking. You know, and there's a whole other conversation we could have about asking, because most people only ask for what they think is possible. And I'm willing to ask for everything that's impossible and then some, you know? And what if it's not impossible?
Yeah. And then just on a more practical level, I've had people who have expressed interest in the class, and they were kind of saying to me that they don't have a business, or
Oh, you
not
don't need a
yet even.
business.
So it's also sort of relevant for people who just like are creating their lives, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Like, you can create anything. This is a day where you can, whatever you want to create, we can start to play with. So it might be business stuff. It might be arty stuff. It might be just things for your life where you'd like your life to be different. I mean, you know, one of the things I think that started me on this path was looking at my life and going, you know, it's not enough for me. I'm not satisfied with this. I am not going to live like this for the rest of my life. And, you know, that when you get to that point, you're willing to be and do things that maybe you've never been and done before. So no, people can, you know, and you don't even have to have an idea in your head. You can come with a blank slate and say, well, what I've got isn't enough. Where can we go from here? And let's play with that, you know, because the moment you acknowledge that to yourself is actually the moment it can begin to change.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we?
No, I just think we should let people know where they can find out about the class, maybe.
Oh, yes.
And what date it is.
The first date, I have it written down actually, is the 18th of June, and it is Creating Your Future. And then on the 19th of June, we're doing another one-day course called Unhiding Your Ideas. And they're both going to be held in Agado Heights, which is a beautiful 5-star hotel in Killarney with the most amazing views. So, you know, that's the bit of nurturing being slipped in there. Do you have the is there a link?
The website, yes. The website is www.creativitylabeurope.com. And whole Europe tour is there, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also, if people want to get in touch with me on Facebook as well, I can answer any questions. And great.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to see you in Ireland really soon. It's not that far away now, so I'm very excited. All right.
Me
Thanks,
too, Lisa.
Geraldine.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.